Hello, welcome back to the channel. I'm Zach Markowski, and today I'll be reading some of Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche's Thus Spake Zarathustra. And I didn't decide to read this just because I was actually reading Ralph Waldo Emerson's essay Self-Reliance, just taking a few notes to read that next. But in there is a lot of seeds that would germinate in Nietzsche's thought, in which he would explore in not just his own ideas of language and human consciousness, but also genealogy of morality. More so, Emerson is an introvert who is absolutely talking about the development of one's inner being, not a deference of one's own thought, feeling, authority, power to outside forces, right? Because part of what Emerson talks about is the destitution and alienation of man, which would lead to the trait that Nietzsche calls the last man, meaning a man who just seeks to live the longest, right? He has his little pleasures, he has his little pains, a little organization man. He has no purpose, no aim. He's not here for the species or to better anything or anyone. He's in it for himself, and there's millions and billions of them. And anyway, what I was reading in Emerson made me think of a few quotations in Nietzsche about values and value tables and where they come from and how they come to exist. And basically, if you're in the know, then you know he's saying that these are all humanly created things. Therefore, the destroyer of values is a creator of values, and he's the one who recognizes their what do you call it? Not just their transcendence, but also their own the fact that they're vagabonds, they're hermits, they're anchorites, they're hidden things that appear for a while and then disappear, or they're killed off, or they were phantoms all along. But he's pointing out that they're made up, and that the creators of values are the holders of values, are the ones who recognize that they're made up. So everyone else takes the game far too seriously to the point of life or death, where they want to defend it. But Nietzsche's whole case about humanity is that it's to no end. It's to no end, no purpose. It's nihilistic. It's self-defeating. It's the poisoning of the human will, that the larger human endeavor has just fallen into disrepair and mismanagement, right? That it's not going anywhere, that there's nowhere for it to go, because once the state constrains the entire world to its purpose and its ends, there's nothing left but a marketplace. So this is section 12, the flies in the marketplace. And Zarathustra is giving his lessons here. Flee, my friend, into thy solitude. I see thee deafened with the noise of the great men, and stung all over with the stings of the little ones, the little men. Right? They're petty, they're small, they're biting. They can't obey or command, but they're going to be snippy about every way in which they're commanded and subjugated. Generally, right? These are men with big egos and nothing to back them. So admirably do forest and rock know how to be silent with thee. Resemble again the tree which thou lovest, the broad-branched one. Silently and attentively it overhangeth the sea. And in case you're wondering what tree Zarathustra is talking about, he's talking about what he later references as the anchorite tree. It goes on, where solitude endeth, there beginneth the marketplace. And where the marketplace beginneth, there beginneth also the noise of the great actors and the buzzing of the poison flies. Right? And Nietzsche has a lot to say about the differences in sincere actors, bad actors, fake actors, that kind of thing. In a world, even the best things are worthless without those who represent them. Those representers the people call great men. Little do these people understand what is great. That is to say, the creating agency. He's talking about the procreative will, the one that actually creates, not the one that imitates, not the one that copies, not the one that conforms, not the one that is, not even the one that's conformed to, living off of someone else's values. He's talking about actual artists, actual creators, procreators. But they have a taste for all representers and actors of great things, right? People want what's fake. They don't want what's real. That's why art is culture's highest and really only production, because people, in case anyone hasn't noticed, people actually don't care how the machinery works. They just need some drone or robot or poor soul of a man there to do it for them. They need the external to reflect a sense of validation, or they feel as if they don't exist, right? They have actually no sense of self. no anchor in themselves, which is why Nietzsche here is advising those who can, flee into your solitude, because uh, if you see what's on offer, you understand it's bogus. Anyway, he goes on. They like the actors. Around the devisers of new values revolveth the world. Invisibly it revolveth. Right? This is the difference between dominating the body and winning over hearts, minds, which is the body. But he's saying, around the devisers of new values revolveth the world. Invisibly it revolveth. But around the actors revolve the people and the glory, such is the course of things. This is also why Zarathustra says unlearn great events, because that's not where things actually happen. That has the appearance of things happening, right? And that thing was called history, and it already happened and it's over and done with. And what we can see is people keep, whether it's in art or politics, all's people, in terms of any kind of vision or notion for the future, well, they don't even have one. They can only look to the past, repeat what's said, copy what's said, try to bring what was already done forward. Very few people are actually tapping into the present, which is the unknown, which is the future. But kind of going on here, he's talking about actors. Spirit hath the actor, but little conscience of the spirit. He believeth always, and whereth he maketh believe the most strongly in himself, right? The actor, the marketplace, the salesman, their whole spiel, their whole stick is to manipulate you to believe in them, to put your faith in them, to defer your authority to them, to give them your money, right? Tomorrow he hath a new belief, and the day after one still newer. Sharp perception hath he, right? Because an actor is a higher man. Like the people and changeable humors, right? All actors, all people in roles of, what do you call it? Particular professions and roles. It requires such acting. To upset, that meaneth with him to prove. To drive mad, that meaneth with him to convince, right? So if you actually believe these people, you're buying into their madness and their bullshit. And blood is counted by him as the best of all arguments. So basically, if you could think of brute man, dumb man through all history, right? The idea of just, it's what can you prove in front of my eyes? Whatever the results are, is that he's going to get violent, right? Because you could argue that, people can't handle the truth. People can't handle honesty. A truth which only gildeth into fine ears he calleth falsehood and trumpery. Verily, he believeth only in the gods that make a great noise in the world. Full of clattering buffoons is the marketplace, and more than ever, right? The society of the spectacle, the whole thing of the production and the production of the production and the management of the production. There's actually nothing left to it, nothing human either. And the people glory in the great men, right? Because it's a dependence. The great men need their worshipers, and the followers need their great men. So these are the masters of the hour, but the hour presseth them, and they press thee. And also from thee they want yea or nay. Alas, thou wouldst set thy chair betwixt for and against, Coke or Pepsi, left or right, black or white, opposites for a plebeian age. On account of those absolute and impatient ones, be not jealous, thou lover of truth. Never did truth cling to the arms of an absolute one, right? People who are so set in their conviction that they basically have to shut out all new and old inputs of the world so they can maintain whatever it is they're maintaining, right? The problem with having to maintain is that there's something to lose, right? So you already begin to see that people are heavily invested, right? So there's a reason everyone behaves like they do. On account of those abrupt ones, return into thy security. Only in the marketplace is one assailed by yea or nay. Slow is the experience of all deep fountains. Long have they to wait to know what hath fallen into their depths. So yes, you introverts, you intuitives, it takes a long time, it seems, for you guys to have enough faith or courage in yourself to kind of deal with such a psychotic and nonsensical marketplace, let alone, what I see is that most introverts just kind of fit themselves into some pre-existing category, or what they do is they assume usually it's like kind of cult leader territory, those are usually certain types. So, away from the marketplace and from fame taketh place all that is great. Yes, right? Because greatness would have to precede any kind of recognition. And then once you're recognized, as Nietzsche says of so many thinkers and scientists and other people, that the best thing that usually serves these people is that they're misunderstood so badly, right? That's why they're allowed to live in the first place. That's why they're modeled. That's why other people believe in them. It kind of goes from there. So away from the marketplace and away from fame taketh place all that is great. Yes. Unlearn great events. Away from the marketplace and from fame have ever dwelt the devisers of new values. Right? Because you got to remember, no one else is going to be like, it's a question of, if we're propagating into the future, what are we propagating and why? It's that which should be remembered genetically and mimetically or information wise. So the idea that one part is as good as another, that either ideas, people's attitudes, that these things are just simply interchangeable, no, 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 it's not true. He's saying, away from the marketplace and away from fame have ever dwelt the devisers of new values, right? He's talking about the anchorites, the introverts, the intuitives, the scientists, the sages, the saints, the mystics, the shamans. Flee, my friend, into thy solitude, the artist. I see thee stung over by the poisonous flies. Flee thither, where a rough, strong breeze bloweth. Flee into thy solitude. Thou hast lived too close to the small and the pitiable. Flee from the invisible vengeance. Toward thee have they nothing but vengeance. Like, what did I say, right? Especially those who must be commanded and obey generally resent anything that is freer, beautiful, or more strong than them, right? Backbiting, pettiness. You see, especially with intellectual discourse, you can never get anywhere because everyone wants to pull you back into the muck and the mire. They want to talk about the same things that everyone's already talked about a million times, right? They want to sell what's new, what's safe, right? People seek for security in an insecure world. It just doesn't compute. It's like that's basically the route to extinction. Once you're seeking safety, you're done for. Raise no longer an arm against them. Innumerable are they, and it is not thy duty to be a fly flap, a fly swatter. Innumerable are the small and pitiable ones, right? Endless. And of many a proud structure, raindrops and weeds have been the ruin, right? Or arguably they bring the ruin, right? If the average is abysmal, the average is what dominates the planet, the biggest number. And then below the average is the below average, which is even worse. So thou art not stone, but already hast thou become hollow by the numerous drops. Thou wilt yet break and burst by the numerous drops. And you can see this, I think, in a lot of performers and a lot of media people who make the excitement and the noise and the clatter and the marketplace and all the poisonous flies. When they make this the focus of their work, I think this is what comes out. They lose their mind, they get sick, they die, they get sued, they get in trouble. I mean, it happens, it's going to happen anyway because that's what the herd is just like. Everyone and everything is attacked because I just think what humanity has produced is a horde of miserable people whose fantasies and delusions will not be indulged by the cultural and historical reality that happened, is happening now, and will happen into the future. So I know that's a lot to swallow, but it's not your job to be a fly flap. Exhausted I see thee by poisonous fly, bleeding I see thee, and torn at 100 spots, and thy pride will not even upbraid. Blood they would have from thee in all innocence. Blood their bloodless souls crave for, and they sting therefore in all innocence. But thou profound one, thou sufferest too profoundly even from small wounds, and are thou hearts recovered? The same poison worm crawled over thy hand. Too proud art thou to kill these sweet tooths, but take care lest it be thy fate to suffer all their poisonous injustice. Right, there's no end to their raillery, so it's a losing battle. It would be called going against the Tao. You're going to break before you break it. And all historical forces, whether it's arguing against decadence or decline, it's essentially a form of madness, really. They buzz around thee also with their praise. Obtrusive is their praise. They want to be close to thy skin and thy blood. They flatter thee, and one flattereth a god or a devil. They whimper before thee as before a god or a devil. What doth it come to? Flatterers are they, and whimperers, and nothing more. Often also do they show themselves to see thee as amiable ones. But that has ever been the prudence of the cowardly. Yeah, the cowardly are wise, right? That to fall in line is wise, right? And then you can hear when people say, when they give their scripts, when they defend what they defend, you go, exactly. You know where your bread is buttered. You know how to follow orders. So stop being such a bitch about it. Stop having such a shitty attitude about it, right? If that's where you're at in life and that's your job and that's what you do, I don't see how any of these people here have any right to complain about anything. This is what they created. This is what they wanted. This is what their parents wanted. This is the future they wanted, which will be a lot more madness. But going on, that's just a warning for any of you who can hear it. so you're not surprised when it happens, and so you're doing everything in advance to prepare for it. Because what Emerson says is, if you're relying on other people and things, you're a fool. You're a fool. Um, so whatever is much thought about is the last thought suspicious. They punish thee for all thy virtues. They pardon thee for the inmost hearts only for thine errors. Right, because misery loves company. More so, that where things diverge, they're going to be upset, especially if you make them look bad. It's like that old Greek sentiment, sure, you're better than us, but go be better somewhere else. Right? Well, hey, you wanted this, then why pretend? Why? What a farce! What a farce to say we value the human intellect, human creativity, and then you turn around and you see, oh no, a handful of people just value what they can get from it, like a leech or a parasite or a poisonous fly, right? It's really disgusting. I find it disgusting, and I have no qualm saying it. And I know this is the problem. Authenticity has no place on the market. It's like human dignity, right? It's honestly, it's embarrassing to people. In my experience with Americans, we all learn to be actors because it's embarrassing to be real, because you see with a lot of people, they don't have much to say about it. They don't have any mode of authentic existence for themselves. They're used to being cynical, jaded assholes. They're used to being consumption minded, petty, competitive, absurd people whose way of life was sold out years ago and whose destruction is coming home to rest and to frustrate and drive them further mad. So going on, right? That's why you'll be punished for your virtues. That's why you'll be forgiven for your errors. Crab and bucket mentality. Let us drag you down. Hey, you're like us. Hey, you belong to us. Get their dirty little paws all over you. So going on, um, because thou art gentle and upright character, thou sayest, blameless are they for their small existence. Right? It's not their fault. People are born where they're at. They have their will, and their will determines where they go in life. But their circumscribed souls think blamable is all great existence, right? So they're suspicious, they're cynical, they're so suspicious, they lack the innocence of a child, and you can see it in them because they think that if someone has something, they're such thieves and criminals and pirates themselves and tiny about it, that they can't help but think that if someone else has something, they got it through ill-gotten gains, or that they didn't deserve it, or that they could do it themselves, when in reality, you see, that's their own protective ego mechanism that's sheltering them from realizations of, oh, I couldn't do that. I've never done that. I never will do that. I couldn't do some self-derived objective of my own. I haven't built anything from the ground up. I haven't put anything of myself together. I haven't procreated in the world in a way that diverges but is familiar enough to instantiate itself, to endure and survive in any way that is meaningful to humanity and our values. See, when I said before it's backwards, but that works in nobody's and everybody's favor, but it's actually right side up, which just means it's inside out, right? Like, you see, it's a really funny stage show that's taking place. So it's not their fault. Blameless are they. Even when the art gentle towards them, they still feel themselves despised by thee, and they repay thy beneficence with secret maleficence. So he's saying, they resent you for your kindness. In the beginning of the book, the sage warns Zarathustra, the saint in the forest, as Zarathustra is going back down to mankind from his high up mountain. The saint warns Zarathustra that, like, whatever you're trying to do, forget it. Just try and help them carry their load a little ways. They'll forgive you for that. They'll let you do that. They'll let you pity them, but they won't let you give to them or actually help them, right? Because their pride, their ego, their smallness won't allow it. But Nietzsche says, I don't care, or Zarathustra says, I don't care. I'm bringing them gifts. Whether they can receive those gifts is another question, right? So he's talking about even when thou art gentle towards them, the small people, the flies, etc., they still feel themselves despised, and they repay thy beneficence with secret maleficence. Thy silent pride is always counter to their taste. They rejoice if once thou be humble enough to be frivolous. What we recognize in a man, we also irritate in him. Therefore, be on your guard against the small ones. Right, so they don't want to be seen. What we recognize in them, right? And I've seen this, people bewildered at being seen, people afraid of attention, people who don't, and this is part of what in self-reliance brought me to this was that there's this part where Emerson's like saying, hey, he who would be a man must be a nonconformist. He who relies on these dead institutions is already dead inside, right? The soul and the instinct shrink and smaller. You become in a descending line of life. And this is exactly what Zarathustra is talking about here, right? That smallness when provoked, that smallness when seen is, it's resented in themselves. They know it's resented by the world, right? This is the game of acting that's being played. People pretend to be more indifferent than what they really are. In thy presence they feel themselves small, and their baseness gleameth and gloweth against thee in invisible vengeance. They're resentful. Sawest thou not how often they become dumb when thou approachest them, and how their energy, right, they have nothing to say, and energy left them like the smoke of an extinguishing fire, right? This is what I said about authenticity being embarrassing, that it has no place in a market, and especially of a bunch of cynical actors, and people who are just gone far removed from any notion of sincerity and authenticity as approach to life, as way of life, as valid internal mechanisms and organizations and orientation, right? Including how one socializes and interacts with others. Um, so, and in other words, when people say there's a friendship and a loneliness crisis in America, they're kind of saying the people here suck. They've been trained to be subhuman beings. They're not good friends. They're not good families. They're not good people, right? And it's not even their fault. So anyway, going on. Yeah, my friend, the bad conscience art thou of thy neighbors, for they are unworthy of thee. Therefore they hate thee and would fain suck thy blood. Thy neighbor, right? And it's funny because when the whole idea is, again, that we value consciousness, that we value thought, that we value intelligence, and then here you have the world's smartest man, and how do people don't even know what to do with him? It's absurd how these people are. It's absurd what this world is, and what was created when we gave the world to the average, when we said, hey, this world exists to cater to lowest common denominators and averages of mass numbers that mean nothing. So going on. Therefore they hate thee, would fain suck thee blood. Thy neighbors will always be poisonous flies. What is great in thee, that itself must make them more poisonous, right? More vengeful, more jealous, more resentful, more hateful because they couldn't do it themselves. And that they had never even had the thought, that they don't even understand, that they can't comprehend, on. And always more fly-like. Flee, my friend, into thy solitude, and thither, where a rough strong breeze bloweth, it is not thy lot to be a fly-flap. Thus spake Zarathustra. Right, so not wasting time swatting endlessly certain things and people, like without discussion of types and the reality of how people operate in the world outside the naive realms of the actors, the sincere actors who actually believe in it. You get the kind of Truman Show. The guy doesn't even recognize that the whole thing's a commercial for him to consume and buy stuff, right? You got the sincere actors, then you got the cynical and jaded actors, the kind of people who scoff at something like authenticity. And I get it, because that itself has become a part of the market. And by the time the market assimilates everything, mankind is left with no soul. Everything is about organizing cogs in the machine. Everything is about what you can buy to grease the wheels of the cogs in the machine. So anyway, this has been The Flies of the Marketplace, Nietzsche Thus Spake Zarathustra. If you're interested, check it out. I'll be doing more chapters here and there from that book, as well as following up here soon with, as I've been discussing, self-reliance, as well as Nietzsche's The Greek State. Thanks for checking out the channel in the meantime, and I'll hopefully catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye.